All right, welcome back, everybody. Today's guest, pretty special to me. I'm excited about this one in particular. We've had some household names, right? Mike Carroll, Sasha McKenzie, Sam Hahn. Today we're bringing you my golf instructor. This is Tre Mullins. Not a household name, but I would say yet. Yeah, not yet. Stick around for this one. You're gonna, after the first few minutes, you're gonna understand why we wanted to have him on the podcast, and because he's a quality human being, quality instructor, but his actual golf game himself, he's accomplishing some pretty amazing things. So we're excited to bring this one to you.
Yeah, he's just a cool dude too. Like it's fun to get to talk to people that I don't know personally. That's my favorite part about having a guest on, is I get to feel like, oh, man, there's so many cool people that are just like in this same space that are all just chasing the same thing. So
absolutely,
I think you're gonna enjoy it.
All right, everybody, meet Tre Mullins.
All right, see you on the flip side.
I'm drinking coffee with a pat of butter in it.
There you
don't
go.
care what you
How
call
about
it.
butter coffee? Let's call it that.
Keto coffee. Hayes' a special coffee surprise.
That's right. And then just pour the Jameson right in.
Yeah, that's an idea. I should mix these. All right. Well, welcome everyone to the Bogey Ball Society. Yeah, I think that's the best time for an intro, right?
Welcome to the Bulletproof. God damn it! What is this called?
Yeah. All right.
We're not a coffee podcast, believe it or not.
Matt, should I do that again?
Yeah, let's do it again.
Welcome everyone to the Bogey Ball Society podcast. Good to see you guys. How you doing?
Great.
Good, doing good.
We're joined by Matt, Jason, and Brian is AWOL at the moment. We're hoping he'll make an appearance at some point in the middle of the podcast.
I believe Brian is on assignment. Yes, we've sent him to the mountains to get some man on the street interviews. So we'll see if he gets back in time.
That's a brilliant idea. We'll see how that pans out. But we are joined by a special guest, Mr. Tre Mullins. Tre Mullins, PGA teaching professional and my golf coach. I'm very excited about this one. Tre, over to you, sir. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, really appreciate you guys having me on here.
Thank you.
Still
so much
not
for
sure
being
why
here,
you want me compared to who you've had already, but
they've seen my swing and they're like, "How did you do that?"
Yeah,
like,
what happened to this
guy?
How?
Also, you were available.
That's true. Yeah, that makes it easy too, right? But no, I'm a golf instructor based out of Knoxville, Tennessee. I work at a practice facility called Fairways and Greens Complex. Really cool place. We've got TrackMan range, a couple indoor places, TrackMans, and just huge facility, really neat. And kind of breaking into the online instruction world too, but base a lot of my teaching on TPI as well. I've done 3 of their level 2 certifications, finally finished my PGA Class A certification. But
that's great.
Began to really specialize in kind of club head speed, and got a passion for that. And I like to push myself to see what I can do and see what my students can do. So fun.
Well, now let me elaborate though. I met Tre, we of course in person, shared a lot of correspondence with Tre. Tre's a very humble guy. Tre came to my attention. He first appeared on a podcast with Mike Carroll, his Fit for Golf podcast. Kind of, I wasn't even aware of Tre until I listened to that podcast. Found him in Knoxville, but I found him on Instagram. And Tre is posting. If you've not been to Tre Mullins' Instagram page, you need to go look and scroll, watch some videos. Tre, real quick, give me some personal bests for club head speed and ball speed.
Yeah, so all of my personal best came last year because having 3 kids now has become a little busier than I expected.
They ruin everything.
They do. There's no free time. No free time at all. It's all their time. But last winter I was able to hit 211.4 ball speed. Sure. And I caught 148 club head speed a couple times. Maybe a misread, but it said it twice, so I'm claiming it.
Yeah, so that'll work. Yeah, so that equates to what?
Wow.
I mean, what should that equate to in distance then, approximately?
Oh man, I never hit the 400 mark. I literally hit 399.8 like 4 times on a TrackMan.
Oh my gosh!
And that was kind of always one of my, so to speak, goals, was to see that 4. But I never hit it last winter, and then who knows if it'll ever happen now? But we'll see.
Yeah. So in addition to being a PGA and TPI guy, well, and the other thing too is Tre. I mean, Tre, don't take this the wrong way, but
no.
Tre's not like an Adonis or like some freak of nature, right? Like he's like an inch taller than me, 10 pounds heavier than me, and does that. And like when you say 148, that is like 40 miles per hour faster than. So I'm like, all right, I want what this guy's selling. You know what I mean?
I'm sorry, that doesn't, like, I'm having a very hard time imagining what that must do to your body, let alone what
You
it must
know,
look like. Like, does it hurt when you swing that hard?
it depends on how many times I do it.
If I
Is
get
the
to
big question.
104, I'm like, like did I just tweak something?
Yeah. It's and that's why I'm not doing a whole lot of speed training this off season. Just I've not been able to get into the gym like I did last year. I was very dedicated to that last winter, and I've got a great friend who's a physical therapist. His name's Paul Michael Peeler. He's got his own facility in town, and we trade services. He keeps me in shape. I give him golf lessons, and if I ever have any kind of little issue, I call him up right away, and he gets me in, and we talk about it and get it figured out. So. He was a huge help. Yeah, he actually, we'll probably get into it later, but I hurt myself pretty bad when I first started all this, and we became good friends after that. So went about it the wrong way and spent some time learning. So, but yeah, he's that's a very important part of the process is recovery.
When you started like the pursuit of speed, where were you coming from? Were you cruising at like 115, 110? Like, were you already speedy?
Yeah, and it kind of goes back and forth. I think in college, we didn't have any kind of launch monitor, so I really had no clue how fast I was. I knew I hit it pretty far, but I went down to a seminar for the PGA, and I think I was like low 20s, somewhere around there anyways. And lo and behold, start working, stop playing, having kids. When I first started everything, I was around like 116, 117, could maybe get to 120. So that was kind of, I think I maxed out at maybe 121. I've got some old videos from like 2018.
That's incredible.
So changed a little bit over the years.
So when you reach your peak speeds, I mean, can you describe kind of your training regimen or kind of what you were doing? I mean, were you in the gym and like what a training session was like, wherein you hit that speed? Because
Yeah.
I mean, if I remember right, like you were doing like essentially like long drive workouts, right?
I was just trying to get as strong as possible. I'm a pretty big believer that there are specific workouts that maybe be best for golf, especially mobility wise, but overall, you're best just full body, as strong as you can. Make sure everything can support what you're doing and prevent some injuries there. So, really, was just trying to get as big as I could, as strong as I could, and then at the same time, kind of add in some speed elements. So, I think that if you're looking to, I mean, there's obviously a difference in strength and speed, but if you're looking to add speed to your game, certain things in the gym you can do is adding a really fast-paced workout along with maybe a heavy one. So like a single leg squat combined with a really rapid split squat right afterwards. That way your body's kind of triggering, moving fast and strong at the same time, as opposed to a lot of workouts we're just sitting there pulling as slow as we can and as hard as we can, and yeah, we're going to get stronger, but maybe not necessarily faster. So
I'm just going to let you know that I'm going to nod and smile and say a lot.
Yeah.
But know that 90% of if you name a thing, I won't know what it is. And that's okay.
No, you're
Jason
good.
and Hayes will. And but I'll Google it later. So just don't direct any questions directly to me.
I'll stay on this side of the screen.
Yeah.
Perfect. But that, and then a lot of jumping, a lot of sprinting, and then combined with the overspeed training that I was doing last winter as well was kind of a short summary of everything.
Yeah, but if I remember
crazy.
right from your Mike Carroll podcast appearance, like you would do like 125 to 150 driver swings after lifting.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, I would do my full workout, and
Jeez.
it's I went through probably a stretch of 2 months where I actually was working out like twice a day, and got pretty tired.
Man.
But saw speeds drop a little bit just because I was exhausted. But I took probably 10 days off and came back, and that's when I began to hit kind of all my PRs. Gave my body time to relax. But yeah, I would work out usually late in the day too. I would give my lessons kind of throughout the day, work out when our facility closed at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. And then somewhere around 9 or 10 would start just pounding balls and get somewhere between 125 and 250. And then usually have to give myself a good 20 to 30 minutes to make sure I didn't pass out on the way home. So, gotta relax. I got really lightheaded a few times.
I
Adrenaline
love
kicks
it.
in, and I just kept going. But it was fun, and
Love
it's
it.
part of that.
Love
That's
it.
why I pushed myself, as I enjoyed it, and it's just the process was great.
Yeah.
That's
So,
cool.
okay, so I don't know that I've ever really asked you this. I mean, if you're on course, right? You're trying to shoot a score now. What's your gamer drive? Like, how far are you hitting it?
So I've kind of figured out I'm comfortable, and I'll elaborate a little bit more on this in a second, but somewhere around 128 to 130 club head speed, 188, 190 ball speed. So usually that's around 330 or so carry, right around
Okay.
there, depending on
Okay.
conditions. But yeah, that's
What?
comfort
And,
level.
and the reason I ask is because, so you and I got to know each other. I started kind of paying attention to your tournaments as they were ongoing over the summer, right? I kind of
Yeah.
find the leaderboard and refresh. And there was one round in particular I've got to ask you about. So this is Tuesday, July 9th at Greystone Golf Club.
Yeah.
And you went out on the back nine. And guys, I'm going to read you this scorecard. It goes birdie, bogey, 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 3 pars, bogey, bogey. So the back nine, his first nine, a 39. Okay.
Four over, yeah?
Yeah.
Birdie and 5. Yeah, okay. Got it.
Makes the turn. And then listen to this card. Par, eagle, par, par, birdie, birdie, par, eagle, eagle. With 39-28. Now, is that typical? Like, I mean, are you hitting it so far that you're putting out big numbers to the good and the bad, or like what happened?
Not typical. It's not
Holy
making excuses. It was kind of raining the first few holes on the back nine. It was a little windy, and what just wasn't hitting it that great. In all honesty, I hit it far, and I'm aggressive with my swing, but in terms of course management, I'm a little conservative. Very much, I would say, very close to like what you would consider a decade kind of mentality on the golf course, which I know he's kind of pounded down there. But I run out of room. All of our golf courses, I mean, are somewhere between mid to maybe high 6,000s. Like we don't really ever touch anything over 7,000. So a lot of mini drivers in play. But Greystone's got a couple quirky holes there on the back nine, and practice round I could not have hit it any better. We played a game, and I think I was 6 under through 12. And hit the driver just unbelievable. And out there, if you hit it long and straight, you're going to make a lot of birdies. I mean, Jackson Harrington, he's at University of Tennessee now. He won, but 2 years ago it was at Greystone. And there was a 59 that was shot. I think the winning score through 3 days. I think it's 3 days. Yeah. Or is it 4 days? I'm lost. It's a long time ago. Was like 24 under par. And this year, I think it was 14 or 15. So it's if you're hitting it good, the conditions are right, you can make a lot of birdies. So it helped that on that my back nine, I started hitting my driver finally good. But it's I tell all my students this: golf is such a crazy game because I went into that first round with so much confidence. Number 10 is a par 4 that's like 340, and I drove it and then 2-putted for birdie. And all of a sudden, the next few holes just kept going slowly downhill. And I actually texted my wife. I was like, I'm lost. I don't know what's going on. I'll see you tomorrow after I miss the cut. Like, she's like, it's okay. I'm proud of you no matter what. And then 5 holes later, I'm start making a bunch of birdies and eagles. So the next day I had a crazy stretch too. I actually played 6 holes, 7 under par, kind of in the middle of my round. So it was a wild couple of days.
My favorite part about that too is you posted on Instagram, like, I don't know, some sort of synopsis of that round, and you were like, moral of the story is don't give up on your round.
Yeah.
And I kind of chuckled. I'm like, you're right. I might shoot 3 eagles on the next 9.
Yeah.
Maybe not
Yeah,
3 eagles, but you make a bunch of pars. Yeah. That's the first time I've ever done that. I don't think I've made 3 eagles in a round of golf.
That's
insane. 8 holes.
That front 9, you had more eagles than I've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, me too.
Just to put it into perspective, I've had 2. Wow.
It was fun. It was an out of body experience for sure.
Are these qualifiers? Like, what?
This was the Tennessee State Open.
Tennessee State Open. Okay, and then is that to go? If you win that, let's say you won that, does that go somewhere? Like, do you qualify for the, I don't know, mid-am something, or it's like, is it a stepping stone to something else, or is it just its own? I mean,
no, it's final. It's you have to qualify for it or get exempt for it. But no, they just hand you a $10,000 check and say, great job. you're done.
All right.
Come back next year.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
How did your playing season go overall? I mean, were you happy with it, or?
Yeah, it was great. Definitely more consistent than I ever have been. I think I maybe won one event in kind of our local series. But I want to say my scoring average was right around like just under 70, I think. I want to say 8 of my last 10 scores was 70 or below. But it's I had the driver pretty good all year. I mean, I was very fortunate. I made a equipment swap this year. Went to Callaway and it was great. Did kind of go through a few heads. The face is hot. It's a little thin, so I did
Okay.
a couple of those, but it was great. Rep was awesome. He let me have 3 heads to have on hand at all times. So if anything ever happened, I just swapped one out and
Oh,
sent the
that's
bad one back.
yeah.
So it was good. But
Yeah, we have that same problem too, Trey. But yeah,
Yeah. What shaft are you using? Are you using like a long like a long drive shaft? Something that's super stable, or?
I experimented with that, and actually all of my long drive shafts are like senior flex, and they're more whippy than anything. But I've played actually pretty much the same shaft for the last 5 years. It's the UST Link White, just a 60, I think it's 63 grams, and I've got it tipped about 1.5 inches or so, and it's held up great. I mean, it's all the numbers, and I used it when I was on staff with Titleist and just threw a Callaway tip on it, and it's I probably tested 3 other shafts earlier in the year, and just went back to this one. It's been good.
Cool.
So Trey, with the numbers you're putting up speed wise, I mean, so let's talk about your life as an instructor a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, of your total stable of students, are a lot of them, like a healthy percentage, coming to you as like, I want speed, or is it just, I mean, as a percentage?
I would say online lesson, it's probably 90% speed,
Okay,
and then
yeah,
in person, maybe 20%. It's funny, a lot of them, I say 20%, some of them came to me initially for speed, and I've transitioned to their full-time coach, so we kind of work on everything. But
okay.
and I want to be known as somebody who specializes in it, but that's not necessarily all that I do. Uh, and I think it's easier for the online too, because I can kind of just prescribe certain drills, and instead of just being there hands on, a lot of specific fundamental kind of mechanical changes. It's nice to be hands on and move you around a little bit. But
So when you have a student coming to you and they're saying, "Hey, I want to get faster," I mean, tell me how that goes. I mean, whether online or in person, do you find that there's common problems that you typically see, or
oh yeah, for
yeah,
sure. I ideally in person, I like to start out with the TPI eval, just make sure there's no big physical limitations. And then I always ask the online lessons or students if they've done one, and if so, please send me that. And if they haven't, then we go into kind of a big long discussion of previous injuries and where you might feel like you're limited. Can you touch your toes? Things like that, just to kind of get a good idea of what they are capable of. But once we get that out of the way, figure out everything's good, we'll take a look at video. Ideally, I get them on my pressure mat. I've got a body track. We look at that. I use Sportsbox now. That's fairly new. So kind of just identifying again different movements, rotation, degrees, lateral movement, things like that. And kind of more look at efficiency first, as opposed to just straight overspeed training. So we see where there are some speed leaks, where they might be losing a couple miles an hour here or there, maybe not using the ground efficiently, and try to tidy those up first before we start really pushing things. And once we get that cleaned up, for the most part, I'll go into having them just start to hit maybe 25 to 40 balls twice a week at max intent, just pushing themselves, seeing what they already have, kind of unlocking that next gear, or turning that governor off that they've got in the back of their head and getting more comfortable swinging balls hard, or swinging their club hard, hitting balls hard. And once we kind of see them plateau there, that's when we kind of introduce some overspeed.
So you've had some students come to you and want to get faster, and you've basically told them, "Hey, we're not going to do that yet. We got to start
Yeah.
with some." How does that go over? That probably get
Nobody's been upset, and I think
okay.
as long as I sit and explain it to them, the vast majority of the time when I don't let them just straight go into speed, there's something in their swing that's going to most likely result in injury. And as soon as I explain that, they're like, okay, let's take care of that first. And for the most part, when we're working on the efficiency stuff, usually we do see a speed gain. I mean, they usually, one, they're going to hit it better. They're going to be a little bit more efficient, but they're going to be moving a little bit more freely and more efficiently. So usually we see a little jump in the club head speed there anyways.
So I told this story briefly. I'll try to summarize it. But I played with a guy who was a Titleist pro, as a teaching professional. So we it was a very slow day. We were backed up waiting on a par 3. And so he was like, yeah, you don't, he said, if I was your coach, I would strip your swing down a little bit and sort of rebuild it, because you've got good fundamentals, but you're leaking power everywhere. And I was like, I have heard that saying. I've heard, well, what does that mean? And he goes, you don't use the ground at all. And he like showed me this thing where he was like, see, like I could just whip my hand. And he like did this little move and it looked so cool. And then I tried it and he was like, okay. Like I clearly didn't do it right. So I guess my question is, if like I'm not there in person, right? So I'm in California, you're in Tennessee. How do you go about helping somebody who's not in the room with you, where you can't go hands-on and you can't have them do it and then demo and then have them do it again and demonstrate? Like, how does that work? I think about this a lot, because I know the easiest way to find an instructor at this point is to go online.
Yeah.
So
training
how does
aids.
that? Okay.
Yeah, I mean I use Downshift Golf a lot. Their board.
Is that similar to what Hayes has, the snowboard looking thing?
Yeah, it's exactly what's behind him there.
That's one of two.
Okay.
Remember,
I may have bought one of those off of Temu, and it should be here. It's shipping by boat at some point in 2026. So I'm fingers crossed.
Who knows when that's good?
I'll start using
that. That and the force pedals I use quite a lot too. They're just like the little rubber silicone, like a little half cylinder, just fits underneath the ball of your foot or the heel, and placing it in specific directions and feeling, kind of pushing off of those pedals. Obviously getting the board, it measures your pressure and shows you whether it's left or right. So getting it in to the right position at the right times. And I'll send some very specific videos, depending on what they're working on, kind of showing and demonstrating what it is. And part of what I try to do with my online lessons is I try to push more of a monthly subscription, whether it be 1, 2, or 3 lessons a month. And for all of those, I give them access to message me anytime. So it might not be full on lessons, but I don't care if I give them their full analysis and their drills, and the next day they're like, hey, I'm going to practice. Can I send you 1 or 2 videos of me doing it? And just to make sure that's right. And because that takes me 30 seconds to be like, yes or no. And if no, I'll sometimes film another video and just make sure that they did understand and start to kind of get the process and get the change.
And the force pedals, are those the ones that click?
No.
all right,
That's a different thing, right? Oh, excellent. Yes.
The
honestly,
collector has them. Yeah, they're right.
I have been waiting for him to demo these things.
They're just basically implants. That's all they are.
He needs those, so that's perfect.
That was a special moment for me, because I think every podcast we've had a guest like walk off. So I get to be the one to do it.
You get to be the one. And
you got to recognize these when you see them, right? The two, like, see, they're just like a rubber material.
You missed an implant joke, so it's perfect.
I can see where. Yes,
it's for your
maturity
calves,
left when I walked off. Yeah.
No, it's for your calves.
Brian's not here. I thought I would avoid it for a day.
Zing. Well, I gotta fill in.
Flip them in the back.
Anyway, now do you recognize force pedals?
No, I actually still don't know really what those are. They're
this
just silicone.
This one's a little more firm.
Okay, like a bag of sand.
Yeah, but it's like a rubber pedal, and you just put them under rubber. You put them wherever your coach tells you, and it's supposed to help you. As our professional just told us, I mean, it's supposed to help you work.
Provides an external kind of source to.
I just wasn't sure if there was an amount of pressure that when if you stepped on it, it clicked, or it like, oh, I'm doing it right, or I'm not doing it right. Like if there was
the orange one is much softer.
I don't know why the click.
So it's kind of good to transfer a little bit more. But the green, yellow, whatever you call that color, it's like Gatorade. It's firmer, so it's going to provide a little bit more feedback, and you'll have to push a little bit harder to get it to compress. So usually I start with the yellow just to kind of make sure there is a good feel, a good sense of where that is or where you need to push, and then transition to the orange. And they make little minis too that are like half the size that are good for kind of, again, trying to transition a little bit more to not using it or to a normal swing.
Cool.
Yeah, it is funny. Great. Like Trey's initial like questionnaire, the tell me about yourself stuff. There's a section, tell me about what training aids you own.
Yeah.
And
Took
you
a
had to
entire
scroll
page.
through my answer, right?
Yeah. And then
Like
it's just
that,
like turn
I think I actually
over.
right.
Yeah.
I think I actually did write on the form. The better question would be, what training aids don't I
What
have?
I
don't
think
I
you did.
have?
I think I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, I didn't have the downshifts when I went and bought them. So
There you go.
yeah.
So then, Trey, to build on Matt's question a little bit more, it's a little bit of a different direction. But what do you think holds somebody back the most when they do have to implement a swing change? It's like I know for me, I'm doing some online lessons right now as well. I'm a very visual learner, so if I see myself do it and I see how to do it right, I can usually implement that pretty well. That works fine for me. But what are some of the biggest things you think hold people back? And then how do you kind of approach helping them overcome those changes? Like Matt said, if you can't be in person with them. Yeah, I think the biggest thing is a little combination of what you're practicing and how you're practicing. Especially working at a practice facility now. It's all I see all day long. And we have, I think, 1,200 members at our facility. So there's constantly 50 to 60 people hitting balls. Everyone's either just ripping a 7-iron all day long, just ball, hit, rake, hit, rake, hit, rake, or driver is pretty much it. The short game's on the other side of the facility, and they use that as an excuse not to use it. There's Brian.
Bry.
Hi, hello.
And now we
gentlemen.
can start.
We can.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you guys waiting for me, particularly you, Trey. It was a fun 4 hours on the slopes and a good hour and a half ride home. So it was good.
All right, there you go. Brian, we'll give you a quick recap. Trey's really good at swinging a golf club very hard. Hayes showed off his implants. Jason has been talking like nonstop. So thank God you're here, because really we need to interrupt that.
Got to break me off.
I'm the
And
only
Brian-
one that got the memo again on the backwards hat and the red shirt.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Brian, Matt made a calf joke, so you're covered.
I heard him
I
say
did.
implant. It's fine. It's fine.
Yes,
You're
he went and
looking
got the
kinda
implants, and then
swollen, that
and
putty,
actually
though.
Trey actually made the implant joke, and then I was like, oh, he
Trey made the
Hayes
joke.
I did.
I don't think he was
That
mentioning
hurts.
your,
Not
I don't think
about
he was,
the calves. I
He
wasn't.
wasn't
about
referencing your calves.
I
I made sure to make sure that we weren't talking boobies, we were talking calves, and that was funnier.
All right.
So
Have you guys ever heard of synthol? Do you know what that is?
no, is it in your coffee?
No. Professional bodybuilders, like the guys that are roided out, synthol is an oil that they basically inject subcutaneously to like fill out
So it's like
muscles that are
Botox?
underdeveloped. You guys are
Wow.
driving me to do some scary stuff. I'm just warning you.
So this is all Trey's fault.
It's all my
Yes.
fault. Yeah.
100%.
Hey, your calves are huge. Thank you, and I need a hospital. Well, that's
Right. Yeah, exactly. Now that you've seen them and commented on them, I'm about to die. Yeah. exactly.
well, anyway, Trey, forgive the interruption. Brian,
No.
Brian's, yeah.
We're good.
All right, guys. Have a good night. I'll see you later.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah.
But Trey, Jason kind of spoke to it though, and you've mentioned, so you've got, what is your, like, of your overall student portfolio, like how many are you teaching online versus you're teaching at fairways and greens? And
Right now, I'm kind of slowly trying to build my online just so that I don't overwhelm myself and students kind of feel left out. But I think I have 12 people that are subscribing to a monthly package of some kind, whether it be 1, 2, or 3. I had one person that wanted 12 lessons in 12 weeks. So we've and it's been spacing out a little bit. There was holidays and things like that, so it's not been quite once a week, but and then probably 5 or 6 other just individual lessons here and there. So it's been good once I feel like I kind of get into a rhythm, and it's nice too because it's like the first couple take a little bit longer, and then kind of once you get to know them a little better, get to know their swing, their game, it's maybe just one thing here or there that you're working on and kind of focusing on, as opposed to talking about the entire golf swing, entire game for the first maybe month or so. So I feel like I can kind of slowly add some more in, but the goal is to probably have just around 20, 25. I don't want to go crazy. I would like to have, probably to where I teach maybe 3 days a week in person, or like at the moment I'm working 4 to 5 days a week in person, but all in the afternoon, to where basically I go in at 9 or 10 o'clock and knock out my onlines for the day, and afternoon I do all my in-persons.
okay. So aside from like the business implications of that, I mean, do you have a preference for one style of lesson versus the other?
Hard to say, because as an instructor, it is nice having the person there and being able to be hands-on and have like a legit conversation the entire time and explain everything as thoroughly as you need. But on the flip side, it's with the online stuff. I think depending on the student, most of mine have been great, but as long as they're constantly asking the questions, um, like I said, I give them access to message me anytime. I might not get back to them right away, but with by the end of the day, um, it's been good. It's been fun, and it's. I kind of questioned it at first, and was, especially with the speed stuff, kind of curious how much success I would see. But I feel like most of them, even after just the analysis in the first couple of drills, they talk about seeing a little bit of a jump, or feeling like less effort and things like that, which is what we're kind of looking for. But um, I don't know which one I prefer yet. It's still debating.
You know, I'll tell you, we had Mike Carroll on, and I ended up having to apologize to Mike for how many times I email him. So I'll extend you the same apology. I'm sorry for all the late night texts.
I think you don't message me enough.
Oh,
There it
don't
is.
say
Oh,
Trey.
Don't
Trey.
encourage him, Trey.
You fix
No,
that?
you just opened
Oh,
Pandora's
boy.
box
That's fine.
there.
That's fine.
Do you guys just become best friends?
No, but I will say, and obviously I'm a fan of Trey's, but I want to give Trey credit. Like I will be like, I will get messages from Trey. How's the swing proactively? Like, how's the swing going?
Great.
Have you played lately? How's it going? So, I mean, he's definitely vested in how his students perform.
And do you respond honestly, Hayes?
Yeah.
Can't talk doing cat phrases.
Yeah. I have found, so I took a series of lessons almost 2 years ago. So I'm definitely eager to get back into that routine. But I found that because I bought like a 6-pack, it was like 6 at a time, that doing a lesson and then taking a week or two to work on the things that we worked on, and then to come back and sort of hone those and then get a little bit more, was incredibly beneficial. Like I thought originally I would just do not like one episode. I watched a lot of TV. One lesson every week, and then after the end of 6 weeks, I would be breaking par. Like in my head, I thought that's sort of what it was, and it obviously is not that. Do you when you've got somebody because the subscription model is great. Like if you said, okay, great, twice a month, that's sort of built in. Like you do a lesson, you take a week off, you come back for another lesson, or however they want to work that, and however you want to work that. Do you find that there's like a sweet spot? Like is it that 3 a month? Is it 2 a month? Is it the guy that wants 12 in 12 weeks? Like is that, where do you see the most growth?
So far, it's been a little kind of all over the map. I think the 2 a month is great. It's plenty. Most of the time, it's probably a good chance eventually I take away the 3 a month and make it more of an unlimited, to where they can send me videos whenever they want and things like that, and just kind of constantly stay checking in. But most of my students have just done the 2 a month, and I've had a couple 1 a month. And it's been great. We just set 2 dates in the month, so whether it be the second and fourth Monday, they send me those videos, and usually by Wednesday or Thursday, I'll get them everything back to them. And then that'll give them a couple weeks to kind of work on what we were talking about, or what I want them to work on.
Yeah, but to Matt's point, it seems to me like the guy who's like taking a lesson every week, can you really learn something in a week's time and be really ready to progress onto the next thing? Like, I mean, if I struggle with early extending, I'm not going to fix it in a week.
Yeah.
You know,
and I've got a few juniors. Like I've got one junior that's actually taking like 3 lessons from me this week. He's got middle school tryouts coming up, and we're not going to talk about something completely different every lesson. There's a good chance we had one last week. There's a good chance the second lesson is going to be more of an observed practice. We're going to do the exact same thing, just reinforce everything, and then maybe third and fourth lesson we talk about something a little different, or look at short game or something like that. Instead of changing 2 things every day in his swing, and he goes to tryouts and he's got 9 thoughts in his head and he shoots 55, and it's like, what did he do? That was a waste of time.
Is that bad? 55?
That was 9 holes, Matt. 9 holes.
9 holes. 9 holes. Yeah, 9 holes. Middle schooler. Middle schooler.
Speaking of, practices, stuff like that, do you ever go out on the course with somebody who's progressed, like to see their actual gameplay? Because I haven't had that thought before. Like, well, yes,
yeah,
not necessarily
I used
this
to
time
a
of year,
lot. I used to a lot, but the facility I'm at now, I just have 3 little par threes. It's all practice facility. We don't have a golf course. But there's a handful of my students that are members at clubs in the area, and if it works with my schedule and theirs, we'll go play. I've got a couple of my college kids that we make it kind of a routine thing when they come in town to go play 18 and kind of discuss some things and talk through some specific shots and data points and things like that. But yeah, I think it's an important process. Part of the process.
I think so too. I think that the number of times I have been out on course thinking, oh my God, if I had a coach here for this string of shots, like how do you, the mental game is such a huge aspect of golf. I mean, obviously I think we all know that, but to be able to talk through course management, or, yes, you are behind a tree. Do not try to hit the shot that you think you can hit that you've never practiced before. Please don't do that. Like, I could be my own coach, but I tell myself to shut up too much. And
a little bit of that goes into what Jason asked me earlier that I'm not sure I finished answering, but kind of what holds people back, and then discussing of how you practice and on the range and things like that is most people just spend all their time block practicing, and it's just hitting the same club over and over at the same target. And it's anybody can really start to groove things in and get a good feel for that, versus you only get really one chance on the course. So building your practice more to be random, and random practice can be anything. I mean, it obviously can be you playing a hole in your mind. If you hit driver on the range and kind of set your fairway and pretend you're playing your home course where you hit a good drive, then I've got 9-iron in. So you hit a 9-iron and pick a different target and move on to where really it could be as simple as you can hit the same club, you can hit the same target, but put your club back in your bag, take your glove off, pretend like you're on the golf course, go back, go through your routine, and make it more random that way, to where you're not just getting in a groove, so to speak. And that kind of helps simulate a little bit more of the actual round of golf, as opposed to just sitting there playing golf swing and beating balls and burning calories.
I try to make my range sessions last 4.5 hours so that it really feels like an actual round.
Matt likes to have blood soaking through his glove.
My wife loves it when I'm gone that long.
And then, so even more so too, Trey, because you do work with a lot of junior golfers, it sounds like.
Yes.
I've done some, not golf coaching, but basketball coaching with high school kids, and half of the battle with a high schooler is the battle between their ears.
Oh yeah.
Where, they have a bad practice and then they suck and they're not any good and the game's going to go terrible. Have you worked in any kind of like mental coaching or some like psychology aspects of golf with some of your younger players, or not too deep into that, but just general support in ways that if they're kind of struggling that way?
Well, and just to clarify too, Trey, you're actually coaching a high school team as well,
yes,
right?
I was going to mention that. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, assistant coach. I help out when I can, but yeah, one of our fairly local, it's Knoxville Catholic High School. I had a couple students that were already on the team, and the coaching position popped up, and
Very cool.
I decided to help out. And now I actually work with maybe 9 of those boys and girls individually too. So it's
Very
been
cool.
good. And I see exactly what you're talking about with the mental game, especially some of the ones that are getting a lot better. I mean, they know they can do it, and maybe don't perform consistently all the time, or go for a 3-round stretch and play bad. But I was awful in high school with my mental game. So I'm able to kind of relate and help them understand and kind of talk them through what I experienced and how I felt like it really held me back for a long time. But kind of directing them towards a couple different social media pages, some books. Big fan of Burn Your Goals is a good one to kind of look at things a little bit different side. Brett McCabe is awesome. He's somebody that I listen to quite often. And then obviously anything Bob Rotella
is Burn Your Goals
all
a
of
book?
his books. Yeah, it is a book.
Okay, cool.
Yep. I
have to
cannot
check that
remember
out.
who wrote it at this moment, and I feel terrible for that. But
I'll find it. I'll put it up.
yeah, if you go on Amazon and type it out, it'll be right there. But it's great. The guy who did write it ended up, I believe, working with the North Carolina lacrosse and soccer teams at one point, and then kind of got more into the golf. Works with a lot of different colleges, a lot of really good players, and kind of like a counterculture, so to speak, of instead of setting goals, more set just your processes and focus on the process and kind of forget the results. Versus, and the person who put me onto the book kind of tore down my goals, so to speak. I told him that I wanted to win a specific tournament, and he's like, well, what if you put forth all this time and effort and practice and go to this tournament and play really well and shoot 18 under par and somebody else shoots 25? And did you fail? Like, technically, yes, if that was your goal. Like, you failed your goal. But you put forth the time, you got better, you played well enough to win, but somebody else played better. So it's more or less focused on the process. And again, doesn't mean you're always going to play well, but as long as you are dedicating your time and resources to the correct areas, that you'll keep getting better, and just trust that. But there's a lot more to it than that. But that's kind of the short summary.
Yeah, but it would be a very short book. Yeah.
Yeah, very short book.
Matt has a way of kind of telling the whole story too when he's telling us about something. It's totally fine. I actually had one follow-up question for you, and I apologize if I missed it. You guys can yell at me. We can move on. Talking about practice and like block practice versus, the random shot to shot. Like sometimes I feel like there are days like I just want to go hit a bunch of balls and kind of just like find my swing again, and like over the winter. If I just go, like, is there a time for block practice if you're trying to like find a new move versus doing the random practice? Or do you think it's more beneficial to kind of keep changing it up and make it,
I think
different?
And I'll say, and kind of what I mentioned a little bit earlier with the random practice, is it doesn't have to be something completely different every time.
Mhm.
If you step back and make some slow rehearsals and some half swings or whatever the one move you are trying to make, I would still consider that random, and maybe not just specific block. I see block practice as just pretty much never stepping back, constantly just making swings, same target, one thought, and just ripping it over and over and over again and hitting 60 balls in 20 minutes.
You mean what my son does? Okay,
yeah.
I gotcha.
Which is okay. Which is okay, actually. But yeah, there's and that's something that TPI goes over in their level 2, and they break it down into more specifics and numbers and data between block and random. But in just about every study that they've done, random has been more beneficial and sped up the learning curve, and you see better results through that.
Perfect. I'm only buying small buckets from here on out and save myself some money.
Well, Trey, you've already kind of alluded to it, so my oldest son Grant is 11. Next, my 9-year-old son Clark, and they asked me to name drop them on the podcast, so there it is, boys. And then my daughter Vivian, she's 7. Like I am curious, and then we've all got kids that some of them are some older than others, but at what point is a junior ready for some lessons? I mean, I don't, there's group clinics and things like that, but like, I mean, how do I know that it's time to take my son to see a teaching professional?
When it comes to specific individual lessons, a lot of it is more what I would say developmental age. It's obviously tough to tell, and it's kind of, I hate to say like wait, but I am all for them more just having fun as long as possible, and just being really involved with other sports and other activities, to where if they enjoy golf, awesome, just let them keep doing it. Even if it's, usually I see around 9 to 10, they start to kind of have the attention span. I want to say boys around age 8 and girls around age 6 to 7 will start to actually develop fine motor skill control in their smaller muscles, to where they actually build some feel. I mean, that's why if you've ever watched a 6-year-old putt and they hit a 30-footer 10 feet, and all of a sudden on the next hole they hit a 3-footer 30 feet, it's not that they're not paying attention. It's not that they're doing it on purpose. Is that they just have absolutely no control and no feel, and they're just hoping for the best. So part of it is maybe when you start to see them have a little bit more control, but usually it's somewhere 8 to 10 for the most part for most kids, kind of depending on how they've grown, developed, and matured.
Jackson is going to be so happy to hear that. He's 10 now, and the last round we played together this fall, he hit a great shot into a par 3, and he had like 10 feet for a birdie, and I could just see he was so amped up. I was like, this is going off the green. There is no way. And he hit it by, and he was just looking at it, and he was like,
yeah, it's tough. I ran a junior league program at my previous job, and we had I think 52 kids in the program, and we scooted them quite a ways up and got them on the green as quick as possible, and made I think a double or triple max, and as soon as we hit that, we picked up, moved on. So, but it's a lot of putts back and forth.
You know, I got to tell you, I hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree with you. The biggest challenge for me right now is my 11-year-old, this Grant, is reaching that age where dad doesn't know anything.
Oh yeah,
right. And so he's a much better athlete than I am. He's got exceptional hand-eye coordination. Seems to me anyway.
Cut that. Keep it.
Right.
Save it.
Right. But I'll tell you, like, it drives me crazy because his grip. It worries me. Like, I don't want him to stick with his grip because his top hand is incredibly weak.
Yeah.
And I keep trying to get him out of that. But at the same time, I don't want to be like coaching him. I want him to have fun, you know, and he does make solid contact. I just, you know, he'll sometimes hit a wayward shot and I'm like, well, fix, you know what I mean? It's, so I want to take him to you and be like, hey, maybe he'll listen to you, you know?
And for the most part, he would. I don't really have any. Unless my kids come to me and ask me to teach them, I'll probably send them to somebody else because
right.
I've seen the same thing with my oldest son. My oldest is 9, and I'll sit there and try to help him. He goes, "No, I can do it. I got it." And he's on the spectrum too, so he's really funny about it. But he finally, in the last maybe 2 months, he's like, I was start hitting next to him. He's like, "Dad, can you show me how to do that? Like, how do you hit it so high? How do you hit it so far?" Like. Okay, like let me show you. And he's very open to kind of me moving him around now and setting his feet and things like that. But
he discovered how cool dad is.
Yeah.
We played 9 holes maybe for the first time since he was little, and it was just on a par 3 course, and the best hype man ever. Like second hole, it was a 100-yard hole, and I hit a wedge, and he's like, "Dad, you hit it so far." Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah,
you're so good, and it's fun. It's just being out there with him is awesome. But
has he seen your long drive swing?
I don't think he's ever seen me hit a driver.
Oh my gosh!
I'm always a little nervous, like if he's gonna dart out, and
the
last thing I want is to swing really fast and jump in front of me. But
That's why I swing as slow as I do.
yeah, exactly. Just for the safety of others,
For
right?
public safety.
It's for the
right.
kids.
That's right.
And
Just in my head, like, oh, I don't want to scare them if they're at home, you know.
Yeah. But
My-
I try to give him as much attention as possible and just kind of be with him.
That's great. I've got a 4-year-old who turns 5 in 3 months, and he's been waiting to turn 5. Actually, it's like 2 months now, because our little
for
par
almost
3,
a year.
he's been waiting for 18 months because when he was 3.5, we used to go to the range, and he would putt around with me, and he'd hit 10 balls and get bored and go putt again, and but he wants to go play. He really, really wants to play. And they instituted a nobody under 5 is anywhere as allowed on the range or in the course. I think they had an incident. That's my guess, because it came out of the blue. And so we've been waiting. And I told him, like, on his birthday, if he wants to come with me, we can walk the little. It's a 9-hole par 3. It's great. It's like it's a great little course. And he said, maybe the day after my birthday. I was like, oh, the shine has worn off already. You're getting older, but no, but he comes with me to the range. There's another range near us that he can hit, and he swings lefty, which is awesome. I'm righty, and he used to watch. He would mimic everybody on the TV. So I would have CBS coverage on, and he would mimic their swings, and he would like look back and make sure that his heel was up when he was done with the swing, because that's what they did.
Love it.
Squish the bug.
He would mirror them, and so he swings way better lefty than he does everything else righty, but he swings the golf club lefty. And I have a lefty set for him and a righty set, and because I don't know if he's actually done. His sister comes with us as well sometimes, and she is definitely righty. And but he was trying to swing the righty clubs, and he has his left hand the same way he does. Yeah, so he's swinging cross-handed, and it was the same thing. I was like, hey, buddy, so if you want to swing the righty one, you got to switch hands. And he goes, I can do it. And then I was like,
I don't need your help.
Okay, all right, I won't be coach. Got it. I'll just be caddy. So
It's just something about that.
It's hard to draw that line, like having a background in coaching, and then I coach my 7-year-old's baseball team, and trying to not be dad and be coach at the same time. And then we live on a golf course in our hometown, so we pop out and play 3-4 holes in the summers on evenings and go out after the last tee time so they can goof around and I don't have to be on them to keep moving all the time. But much like Hayes, my oldest has a really weak top hand, and it's funny because he's very stubborn and he'll miss it. He's a lefty. I'm a lefty as well, and he'll miss it left and left and left. Like, if you just move your top hand a bit more on top of the club, he says, nope, this is how I do it. And he does the PGA. We have a really nice first tee program here, and our PGA pro, who was a fantastic youth coach, had tried adjusting his grip once, and I guess he dead looked him in the face and said, "This is how I swing the club," and he was like, "Okay, we'll leave it at that."
All right.
So.
Nice.
He has fun with it, but he's a perfectionist, and so he gets really frustrated. Like he's starting to hit the ball further. He tees it from about 100 yards out, and he can drive it to the green pretty easily. But he'll miss, and then he can't chip on, and then it's just golf is the worst. This game isn't any fun. And it's like, well, have you watched my last 6 swings, and I'm still not on the green?
These are the lessons that it's important that they learn early. Is that golf is miserable. You'll hate it until you hit the one good shot, and then you will love it forever. And it's just,
that first bogey keeps bringing you back. That first par then brings you back, and then you get that first birdie, and it's all over.
It's funny. We got into some scary territory the last couple times we played because, like, him playing from his distance, like he beat me straight up on a couple holes. It's like, dude, you are 7 years old. Like, I don't care how bad I am. This probably shouldn't happen yet, but here we are.
Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, Trey, I got to ask you, since you're talking about growing your online stable, I'm not going to out you, but you've kind of shared a few horror stories with regards to some online lessons. Like, tell our listeners, like, keys to a good online lesson as the student, right? Because it kind of depends on your videography skills a little bit.
It does, and within my, I guess, new student packet that I send, I try to do a good job of detailing how to set up your camera. But man, I've gotten some good ones. I've gotten some good ones.
That's
it's
great.
funny.
That's really smart.
Can I use my Motorola Razr from 1998?
You can.
Yeah, Brian has Konica Minolta Swing Vision.
Most of the video quality's been okay, but I won't mention any names. I had one student a long time ago. I haven't worked with him in a while, but he was like, "Hey, my hitting bay is in my garage, and I don't have a lot of room behind me. Is it okay if the angle is a little high?" I'm like, "I'm fine if you're close. Like if I can only see your body, better than the angle being off. Like
for the down the line
zoom
shot.
out a little bit, yeah, for the down the line shot." And I think
it's like up here.
His garage is like 2 levels. So he has his wife go up on the second level and was like looking down.
So you get the overhead.
Pretty much.
Tremendous.
It's a little behind. It's like 5 feet behind. But I'm like, I can see like 10 feet below you. Like, that's all I need. And I just kept asking him, like, "Hey, if you don't mind, just could you get one from down the line, like level with your hands," which is in my description. And I don't care how close you are. Like, it's fine. "Oh, yeah, I'll get it." And like 3 weeks went by. And every couple days, just checking in. "I've been busy, sorry." And then just like, "Can you just do it with the videos you have?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can do it. No guarantees that I'm spot on accurate with where everything is, but I can try." And just never heard from him again.
Yeah. It looks like you have a lot of lag, except I'm directly over you. So
yeah.
So you try to hold their hands to get quality video.
I do, and if it's not great, I'll tell them, and I'll have them send me something. And it most people get it pretty close. And I actually had somebody not too long ago that went through and asked me several questions about getting the right angle. And he's like, "Why don't you take a picture and put on your document, like demonstrating?" So I'll probably do that soon. Just as can I get in the right angle, or maybe even I include a link with a video of kind of setting it up too. So just trying to take all of the unknowns out.
I'm sure Hayes would be a model for you on that if you wanted.
It'd be a great model.
Yeah, as long as it's like waist up, right?
We just throw the calf implants in.
Just put the implants in. Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
It's gonna stuff socks into some joggers.
That's
How come one of his calves is orange and the other one's Gatorade colored? Oh, weird.
One's a little squishier
Yeah.
than the other two.
Is it intimidating at all to have to coach Hayes? I mean, he's a specimen. Is it at all? Do you get
Well,
nervous when you get an email from him that's just like,
It is
Get
a
a
great
little sweaty,
question, Trey.
palms start sweating,
What's it
yeah.
like when like a genetically gifted freak walks into your bay and says, "Teach me"? That's got to be
That's right.
intimidating.
Oh yeah, very
Also,
much so.
what else do you like about teaching me?
No, Hayes has been great. He's good. He's like I said, it's all about communication between student and teacher, and building a relationship is the biggest thing. Is this I don't want to just randomly see you every however many weeks or whatever it is and try to catch up. But no, he's great. He's awesome. Stays in contact. Like I said, if anything, I want him to message me more, which I'll probably get more of after this.
Yeah. Oh,
There you go.
yeah.
Game on.
Oh, you will.
He probably
I
sent you
will.
3 already.
That's
I'm,
fine.
I'm going to be a wake up
Oh,
call
yeah.
if you're not careful.
Hayes? He's not talking about like you up at 2 a.m. Just
Yeah.
just
You
so we're
awake?
clear.
What are you doing?
Right.
So this is kind of a question that's the other end of the spectrum, because I know that Hayes is not this type of person. Have you had students where they submit stuff for their lesson, whether it's in person or online, and then they go home and they come back for the next one, and you can tell that they have done nothing,
Oh yeah.
Right.
and
not putting in
nothing
the
is
work.
better, and they expect a different result because they're working with you, but they're not doing what they're supposed to do. How do you have that conversation, especially because I know from people I've worked with in my field that they don't really like being told that their approach is wrong, and it's usually my fault. So how do you kind of approach that
Man.
and be like, do you ever get to the point where it's like, listen, dude, this is how it's going to be, or you're wasting my time and I'm wasting yours.
Yeah, I haven't had very many online guys in that situation, and if they are, they'll usually tell me like, "Hey, I didn't get a chance to practice the last 2 weeks. Can we push it back maybe 1 week?" And that's completely fine. But in persons, I mean, you'd be surprised. It's probably a pretty large percentage of people that come in and say, "Hey, I didn't get to player practice since the last lesson," and it's usually I just let them know, "Hey, it's going to be the same thing. Like we're going to have observed practice. I'm going to make sure you do this correctly. I'm not going to give you something new because you haven't even touched the club since, so I know it's not right." And usually it ends up looking exactly how the last lesson started. So it's just repeat. And that's, I mean, I'm the worst thing you can do as a teacher to give somebody too much information, in my
sure.
opinion. So if they're not going to practice and put forth the time and see the improvement, then I'm not going to move on.
I got a question for you. So I'm probably the least, I'm definitely the least coached person on the call right now. And I think part of it is because I kind of take the external approach to like my swing thoughts. Like what do I want the ball to do? And that's how I try to play. Is that more difficult to coach than somebody who's thinking of like, I need to be in this position here, that position there? And how do you go about coaching somebody like me?
No, and that's kind of one of the challenges as a teacher is figuring out like how you learn best, right? And for me, it starts out using a lot of external cues, and maybe it's we put a tee in a certain location, you swing towards this, or get your face to try to point towards a certain location, or start the ball there. Just different feels along those lines, and then maybe explaining what you might have to feel with your body to get that in the specific position, so you can kind of tie a little bit of internal feels to the external drill or thought. Usually, if anything, I mean, most studies show external cues work more efficiently than internal anyways. I always joke around, everybody's more athletic than they give themselves credit for the most part. But it's fun whenever you tell somebody to just try to point as far as you can this way, and it gets right to where it needs to be, or maybe not as exaggerated where feel versus real is very different. But yeah, it's just kind of adapting to each specific person and making sure the drills are suited to how they learn.
All right, I'm sold. Hayes, I'm going to become his new star student now. So I
The
don't know.
competition's on.
Yeah, the
on.
competition might actually make me a better
Once
player.
again, my arch nemesis strikes again.
That's right.
Yeah.
Trey, anybody on YouTube that you're watching right now, either content or coach or whatever, because I know tons of people get
I think
their...
the question is, who don't you watch, right? I mean, you're-
Well, no, but I
Yeah.
mean, are there coaches that you enjoy their content? Because I know that lesson about randomizing your practice.
Yeah.
Mark Crossfield talked about that 3 years ago. or that's
Adam
when I
Young
saw it.
talks about that a lot too.
Yeah, and it completely changed my practice. So I there must be people that you're like, yeah, they get it, they're doing good stuff, but also it's not specialized and it's not individualized. So is there anybody that you're like, oh yeah, that's a great starting point? And or is there anybody whose content you're just like, I just turn it on in the background and laugh? Because like Bob Does Sports for me is the pinnacle of what YouTube golf can be, because it's two hacks and Fat Perez, and they're so fun.
I'm probably behind the times with YouTube. This Ural's podcast is like the only thing that I watch. To be honest,
You hear that?
on YouTube.
Wow.
All right.
So when
just
you
the
rent
occasional video that I look up.
VHS store videos from Blockbuster, what are you watching these days?
I like to scroll through Instagram, so and just kind of see the updates and things like that, or short clips from the videos. But anything TPI related, I try to look at everything they do. Mark Blackburn, big fan of Martin Chuck in Arizona. He's been a good mentor,
great.
actually. He's awesome. Yeah, and very supportive to younger professionals. When I first started teaching full time, I actually sent him an email and just said, hey, love everything you do, kind of how you go about your business and communicate. Is there anything you would recommend to my young getting into this? And he emailed me back in like 5 minutes, said, here's my cell phone, call me. And we chatted. And now anytime that I send him a message, he's great to reply. And he shares a lot of my things on Instagram too, if I tag Tour Striker or something along those lines. And he's great, big fan. Obviously, Greg Rose and Dave Phillips with TPI. Trying to think of other instructors.
Jason's a big fan of Greg Rose.
I'm a big Dr. Greg Rose fan.
He's the Dr. Greg Rose.
Dr. Greg Rose.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. Messed up. Put me on the spot with that one.
All I heard was Bogey Ball Society at the top of the
That's
list.
it. Yeah.
It was honestly, it
It's
was
the only
a
thing on
great
YouTube.
answer. That's exactly what I was looking for. I just wasn't sure if there was somebody that you were like, oh yeah, no, I love their stuff. Because I mean, honestly, like Martin Chuck is awesome. Like I really enjoy his stuff too. But the TPI stuff was relatively new to me, and it's incredible. I mean, what they do is really amazing. So that's awesome.
It just makes so much sense, and just learning, like, very few people are built the exact same. Very few people move the same. Very few people should swing a golf club the same. So learning what limitations you have and how you move specifically can alter that, and hopefully figure out what way can match up your golf swing best.
I do appreciate that we're seeing that on tour too. We're seeing guys with unique swings again. For a little while there, it was like everything was trying to get cookie cutter.
It was.
And now
Everybody wanted to swing it like Rory for a while.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of injuries too. So
Yes.
obviously still there, but I think more for the bigger guys. You said Jason Day back in the day. It's like, I felt like he never could stay healthy versus somebody like Bubba Watson, who's never had a lesson, just swings whatever works best for him.
That's right.
It's relatively injury free.
Well, Trey, I really appreciate you spending your time with us. My main takeaway from here is that there might be a possibility of a playing lesson, so I'm just going to tuck that away in my vault.
Well,
There you go.
For everyone else that wants to sign you up, either online or in person, how can they find you, Trey? And again, I want to restate your PRs for club head speed and ball speed are, again,
they're old, but 211.4 ball speed, 148 club speed.
you hear that, folks? So if you want some of that, Trey, tell us.
Astonishing.
He's never driven it 400 yards. Just also remember that, everybody.
0.2 away.
That's right. 399.8 don't count.
Right.
Even debated up in the elevation and the temperature, but I couldn't do it.
Incredible.
Had to do it
Incredible.
normalized.
So Trey, how do they find you?
Yeah, so right now, I'm working on a website, but I usually will handle everything just through my Instagram. So it's just Tre Mullins Golf, TreMullins Golf. I message all my students through Telegram. So if you want to just straight download that, search my Instagram handle and send me a message. Happy to discuss packages and pricing, or an email, which is also just TreMullinsGolf@gmail.com. So try to keep it simple.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, folks, get to Trey's Instagram, and that's a hoot just watching the long drive swings in and of itself. So I highly recommend it. Trey, really appreciate you spending your time with us.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Appreciate you
thanks
guys
for
having
coming
me.
on.
That was awesome. It was fun.
All right, Matt, that was Tre Mullins. What do you think?
I mean, I think he lives up to the hype. He's, for real, I have his number and will be reaching out to get a lesson because, I mean, if he can work with you, he can work with me. That's for sure.
Yeah, probably true. You know, Brian talked about the same thing about reaching out to him.
Yeah.
I just want you to know I'll always be a special boy. And I got to tell you, my favorite part of that episode was hands down when he described his club head speed and ball speed. And your reaction was like, does that hurt?
Well, it also, like, I mean, I have tried to swing harder. Like, it's not like I'm not trying to do some things that I've seen online. It just, I don't know what I'm doing. And so I'm just going to break my body. And the idea of anybody swinging a club head 40 or 40 miles an hour faster than I do?
Yeah,
Something like
he
that?
hit 148 a couple times.
Yeah. So that's almost 50 miles an hour faster than
Yeah.
that is a factor of 50%. That is ridiculous. So, yeah.
Yeah, when I went down for my in-person lesson and he was like, here, like this. And he took his driver and he hadn't warmed up. It's like his first swing of the day. And he kind of went at it like 60% and hit it 360. And I was like, okay, I want my money back. And please don't ever do that in front of me again. You know?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also, that's what's capable. That's what theoretically a human body is capable of. And he's not even the fastest in the world. So it's pretty amazing that
Yeah,
he's
but
able
there's, and that's why I wanted to get him on here, because there's an everyman quality to him, but he pushed himself, he dedicated himself to do it, and look at what he's accomplishing. So that's in his golf game. But then I think what came out is what a quality instructor he really is. So I'm glad everyone got a chance to sample that, and I hope folks will look him up because it's well worth it.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. We'll see you guys next week.